All right, well, here is a question for you. Why has the World Economic Forum been so amazingly successful? The World Economic Forum, founded by Klaus Schwab, is not just a benign organization that pushes agenda items like transhumanism, 15-minute cities, the end of combustion engines, climate lockdowns, digital currency, the elimination of cash, the elimination of sovereign governments. This is basically what they want, right? It would be one thing if all of these items were just pie in the sky ideas, but it's quite another thing how all of these things are actually coming to pass. Many governments have been implementing many of their policies, not just in the United States, but in France and New Zealand and Canada and Australia, Ireland, the Netherlands. The list is actually frighteningly long. How does this happen? How did they get so strong? Well, it turns out that the World Economic Forum has a very good farm system. You know, it's like Major League Baseball and the minor league baseball teams. Like they farm it out and they start them young. A grooming program, if you will, called the Young Global Leaders of the World Economic Forum. Now, we've covered this a bit on the show, but I want to do more of a deep dive now, because what they do is they seek you out. They groom you. They place you into this program. There's just one caveat. You need to be young. You need to be 40 or under so that you can then infiltrate these governments and do the bidding of the World Economic Forum.
It's like a kids club.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's like, okay, you know, we're getting you started young. We're getting you started so you can be indoctrinated and then rise up inside of this organization. Now, the expose did a great job cataloging just a few of these World Economic Forum young leaders who ended up infiltrating these governments and then running the show, basically. And they explain, quote, the World Economic Forum's Young Global Leaders Program, founded in 2004, is designed to cultivate a network of exceptional individuals under the age of 40 from various fields, including business, politics, academia. Schwab has openly admitted that these young global leaders are infiltrating governments around the world. And he gloats about it, by the way. So let's just start with Justin Trudeau as an example here, the Prime Minister of Canada, dictator Justin Trudeau. Trudeau has implemented dystopian policies that align with, of course, a lot of what the World Economic Forum wants and their globalist vision for the world. Here are just a few examples. Carbon pricing and climate change policies, according to the expose. Trudeau's government has implemented a carbon pricing system, which is exactly what the WEF wants, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, aligning with the World Economic Forum's focus on sustainability, environmental responsibility. Also, internet regulation. We've been covering the internet regulation here on the show from Trudeau for many, many months now. Of course, in the wake of the trucker convoy and all of the clampdowns on free speech and misinformation and disinformation that he loves to talk about, right? They've absolutely pushed for measures that could infringe on freedom of speech in that country. That's exactly what the World Economic Forum wants. Pandemic response, right? The COVID-19 response. Trudeau's government has implemented all sorts of measures to control the spread of COVID-19, pushing lockdowns, of course, travel restrictions, and vaccine mandates. Although last week he tried to rewrite history and pretend that he didn't push people to get vaccines at all, which was laughable. And then he acknowledged that there's problems with the vaccines. He started saying that for the first time, like he's trying to rewrite history. All of these measures that we talked about, and there's more, of course, his clampdowns on the media, picking and choosing what media gets to have an audience with the government of that country, or registering to be a media organization, a news organization, only if you ask favorable questions or you are ideologically aligned with the Trudeau government. Here is
transhumanism by way of, human-assisted suicide for just people who are depressed.
Yeah, and leading the push on that, right? Like talk about the transhumanism, like you feel depressed? Well, why not take some pills to end your life early?
Yeah.
Yeah, forgot about that one. Let's add that to the list. Here's Klaus Schwab praising Trudeau, one of his young proteges.
But what we are very proud of now, the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I knows that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
Isn't that sick and disgusting? That's frightening. Like I went to a reception for Justin Trudeau yesterday, and I was looking around, and more than half of his cabinet members are all members of the World Economic Forum, young global leaders group. Like we've penetrated, infiltrated these cabinets, and that's just one. That's just one example in Canada. A member of the young global leader class of 2020, very, very young, Sanna Marin, who became the world's youngest serving prime minister when she took office in 2019 in Finland. She's been a vocal advocate of all sorts of crazy progressive policies, obviously climate change mitigation, but all sorts of gender equality issues. I'm trying to think what else in Finland she's been responsible for that is incredibly troubling.
I'm going to use this term that people go crazy for when I say she's a COVID media darling.
Oh yeah. She loved COVIDism. Mm-hmm. So yes, absolutely. So Sanna Marin, also member of the Young Global Leaders. So she rose to the level of prime minister. See how this happens?
She also was voted out.
Yeah.
As prime minister recently.
So, but the thing is, when they get voted out, then they become, in some ways, more powerful because now they're being used for other purposes. Just like Jacinda Ardern, who was voted out, or not voted out, decided to leave early under mysterious circumstances in New Zealand. Why was she sort of pushed out? Because now she's being used for other purposes. Ardern is a member of the Young Global Leaders portion of the World Economic Forum of 2014, class of 2014. She's, of course, she's been heavily criticized for all of the excess deaths. Over 3,000% increase in excess deaths due to mandatory COVID-19 vaccination laws in New Zealand that Jacinda Ardern enforced at the behest of the World Economic Forum. She's no longer prime minister, but now, of course, she's being used by the World Economic Forum to fly around the world to promote all sorts of things about extreme government policies, media control, censorship, misinformation, disinformation. That's her new modus operandi on taxpayer dollars, by the way, for the World Economic Forum. So even though she's not prime minister anymore, who cares? There's other members of the global young elite that are part of the World Economic Forum that are part of this parliamentary office anyway. It doesn't matter about her. She's doing the bidding in other ways now. And perhaps worst of all is Emmanuel Macron. Of course, there he is, standing next to his buddy, Klaus Schwab. He was a member of the Young Global Leadership class of 2016 before being elected to office. And Macron has implemented several policies, many. So his list is long. He's probably got the longest. He even beats Trudeau in my mind for like frighteningly scary World Economic Forum leader. Surveillance, security measures. Think about what he did during for COVID passports, right? And passport restrictions and monitoring all of that COVID-19 response, potential erosion of freedoms with all sorts of measures to allegedly curb and spread the virus, seriously impeded human rights, eroded individual freedoms. Introduction of the health passports, the vaccine passports, proof of vaccination, or required a negative test to go into certain public spaces, like even to just go into public spaces, personal liberties infringements, of course, exactly what the World Economic Forum wants, digital transformation and privacy concerns. He promoted digital transformation within France and the European Union, according to the expose. For example, facial recognition technology in public spaces for just being in a public space, like I'm being analyzed and put into a database. Labor reforms, all sorts of increasing to reduce unemployment through labor reforms that they're going to undermine workers' rights and, of course, protections for workers. So job insecurity, income inequality, a lot of different things that he's put in place over the years. So Emmanuel Macron on that list. Anything else you can think of from Emmanuel Macron?
Removal of cheap energy, environmentalism. He's one of those.
Absolutely, yeah.
COVIDism.
From what I saw some I saw some videos that he's apparently incredibly popular in France for the retirement age, just sort of ramming that through without any votes. Yeah, the change in retirement age.
Yeah,
I saw it looked like people were really happy.
Yeah, they're really cheering. They were in the streets really cheering and applauding that in France.
Yeah.
I saw him lighting some fires so that they were sure that he would know that they support him by shining a light on all of Paris.
Yeah.
I would love to know
popular.
how many people in the Biden administration, obviously Biden is not a member of the young global leaders. He
aged out.
He aged out of that. He's probably a member of the seniors club of World Economic Forum. But I don't know if they have that or not. He gets a discount at 5:00 for the early bird special. But I wonder how many people inside of Biden's cabinet are actually members of the World Economic Forum Young Global Leadership Council. It'd be fascinating to see.
Yeah.
Because, hey, Biden gets pushed out, doesn't matter, because there's other guys right there ready to go and sign in. By the way, I should point out Putin was also a member of the Young Global Leaders group back in the day.
Oh. Has he gone rogue then?
I guess he's probably like completely been like, boy, I should not have. I think, and that was one of the things that Putin talked about was like trying to come to the table to have dialogue with these other countries. I mean, he's talked repeatedly over the years about trying to join NATO and having a dialogue where we could come together. But he was always rebuked. He was always said, no, you can't. We need to have an enemy. The United States needs an enemy in somebody like Putin. And now, of course, it's China as well. So interesting. He must have, I wonder if he's in alignment on any of these issues, any of these major issues, because in all of his speeches, at least over the past year, all of his speeches totally crap on exactly what's being talked about here at the World Economic Forum. And his energy policies totally crap on everything that the World Economic Forum is doing.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I don't know what the life was like of someone living during COVID restrictions in Russia, how much the vaccines were rolled out. That's one thing, but we do know that, the labor market reforms, the environmentalism, the censorship. Again, we'll leave that one aside. They're just things we still don't know. But these guys are like stamp out, carbon cutouts, the ones we've just gone over.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to wonder if there's like they let in some of these bigger world leaders just to like have them have a seat at the table, or they to try to offer some sort of legitimacy. Last year, someone pointed out in the chat he was banned from coming to Davos. So Putin was banned from coming to Davos last year, of course. So
yeah,
I don't know. He's been excommunicated, I guess, from the Klaus Schwab club.
And now there is
if you're
go ahead.
I was gonna say, if your country doesn't start with a G, like the G7, the G20, like that, you're not invited. It just you have to have that G in there. So.
And now there is talk about whether or not South Africa will remove itself from certain Western organizations because there is this international warrant for arrest for Putin, and there will be a BRICS conference in South Africa later on this year. In which case it would obligate South Africa to detain President Putin. And South Africa says, we're not removing memberships from any groups, but we're not exactly going to do that either. So will he even come, or will he send somebody else? So who knows at this point what will happen.
Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.